Welcome to Hootie Hoots Garage. Today we have a Craftsman lawn tractor, a YT3000, that has a Briggs and Stratton 21 horsepower single cylinder motor on it. I believe it has a bad camshaft that the compression release has broken. These are known to do this. There's the motor and there's the tractor. The easiest way, if you have a inkling that the compression release has broken off the camshaft, is remove the valve cover and remove the spark plug and hand crank it over, and when it comes up to the compression stroke, the exhaust valve should bounce open just a hair, allowing the compression to lower to spin it over. So we're going to tear this motor apart and replace the camshaft. How to remove this motor: you make sure you drain all the oil out of it. Disconnect this big main plug, the starter wire. There's 4 bolts underneath. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to remove the fuel line. On this one, has no gas in it, so I could just take this line off. Sometimes you might have to pinch the fuel line to keep the gas from coming out. And then also there is a big bolt holding the bottom pulley on that you need to remove also. And on some models, you have to remove the header plate from the header to get the motor pulled. But this one, you can slide the header out of the muffler. Alright, well, I got the motor out. Now I'm going to show you what the compression release is supposed to do on the exhaust valve when it spins over. If you can look, this is the exhaust valve. And whenever it comes up on compression stroke, this exhaust valve is supposed to bounce just a little bit so it makes it start easier. That's the exhaust. The next one will be the intake moving. Now it's coming up on compression stroke, and that exhaust valve should bounce just a little bit, crack the valve to lower the compression so it starts. And I do not see any movement till now, but that's on the exhaust. So that's how you could determine if you have a bad cam. When you split this motor, you turn it upside down. You have to remove this cover. This is where the oil pump is at. And you have to remove their 1/2-inch bolts the whole way around it. They should be all the same. I'll show you what it looks like underneath that once I have it removed. This is what the motor looks like after you remove the cover. I have already removed the old cam. That's where it goes to, and the little tappets for the push rod. Here is the old cam. You see all the parts underneath that broke. Here's the new cam. That's the compression release. It will fling out once the motor starts, and this little piece right here where my thumb's at will flatten out once it starts. Once it stops, goes back, and this right here is what bumps the exhaust valve open to help it start easier. But this is what happens on these, that the pieces all break and to get through the motor. When you're installing the camshaft, make sure that the two timing marks on the crank gear and the cam line up. You can see that the marks are lined up. When you install the governor, make sure it goes on the cam up there, and make sure that the little push rod is pushing against the governor, just like that. That's the way it should look like before you put your gasket and your pan back on. Well, when you install this cover, these bolts here are 180 inch-pounds or 15 foot-pounds. I installed my new crank seal. I do put some grease on it so it makes it slide a lot easier into the case. Now this motor is ready to sit up on the side and then adjust the valves. Yeah, you have to set the valve gap between here and here, and it should be at 5/1000ths of an inch because with feeler gauges. That's what I used. With the new cam installed, the motor will spin over. You can watch the intake and exhaust valve moving. If I get it to move by hand here. And I was wrong on the first video about watching the exhaust cam or exhaust valve bump open on a compression stroke. It's actually the intake. I was completely wrong. But either way, the cam was bad. And if you look, come up compression stroke, and you can watch the right there, you see a bounce. That's the intake valve releasing some compression, so it helps to start. Well, the motor is back together and ready to get put back in the tractor. 21 horsepower platinum Briggs and Stratton motor. That's how you install a cam or a governor or anything that you have to do inside the motor. Well, I'll see you guys later, and hopefully have another project to work on. Bye-bye.